Hello. Okay, so I am going to cook a breast of lamb in my slow cooker today, and so I just thought I would come in here and talk to you about it. Um, Slow cooking is just such a brilliant thing to do because it's a really lovely way to get lots of flavours that have sort of slowly been cooked and all come together. It's a great way to cook cheap cuts of meat. And also it's brilliant for time management. So if you have to rush out to work in the morning, or if you're just not in all day, and you want to have something that smells delicious and is really nutritious for when you come home ready to eat, slow cooking is brilliant. I'm going to do this today in my enamel slow cooking pot that's going to sit in my oven at 150 degrees for, well, what time is it now? It's 11:30, so probably sort of about until we're ready to eat it. And what I'll do is I'll sort of check it a couple of times and just check that, you know, it's not burning or anything. And I will, towards the end of its cooking time, turn it right down. But I start it on 150 degrees. Or if you have an instant pot, you could cook this on the slow cooker function. Or if you have a slow cooker, an electric slow cooker, exactly the same. You just put it in the slow cooker, turn it on to, you know, high and then down to medium, maybe sort of halfway or towards the end of cooking, and you have a lovely meal all made for you. It's really funny. Earlier this week, I was actually buying some paint, and the chap in the shop was just bought himself a slow cooker and was getting really sort of, you know, worried about how to use it. And I said to him, just put stuff in it and put it in the oven. No, don't put it in the oven, turn it on. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can make cooking food, good, proper, real food, as easy or as complicated as you want to. And easy is just as good and can be just as delicious. And I'm saying that because I see this put people off all the time. There are so many fabulous recipe books out there, but often they're written by chefs. And chefs are trained professionals who know how to make food really wonderful and use lots of different exciting ingredients. And that's fabulous. But you don't have to cook like that every day in order to eat delicious, wonderful food. You don't. Okay, so I'm cooking a breast of lamb, right? Super cheap cut of meat, but also incredibly nutritious. There's a lot of fat on it. And the fat needs to be rendered out because the fat and the meat are kind of in really thin layers. So let me just show you what a breast of lamb looks like, in case you don't know. So this is it. We actually, so there you go, see? So it's very thin. And so what will happen is that is a cut of meat that you want to slow cook, because as you cook it really gently, the fat, the skin, the collagen, and what meat there is on there will all slowly kind of separate, break down, get really tender, and release loads of flavour, because a lot of the meat of fat, a lot of the flavour of meat, sorry, can't get my words out today, is in the fat. Also, a lot of the nutrients are in the fat, okay? So this is, I mean, you know, and the best quality you can get, obviously. We bought this lamb, as a lamb, from some people we know who grow their own. So they're grass-fed and they're organic and they're local and they're lovely. But it doesn't have to be like that. If you can't, just go to your butcher and ask if you can have breast of lamb boned. Okay, so that's that. Right, so what am I going to do with it? Here we go. Put that there. Right, here's my crock pot. Okay, so in here already I've got two cut up red onions. Just cut up roughly. You could make them prettier than this, but I have no patience. So I just cut them up like that. And also they're going to be slow cooked. So you don't want them too small, because they're going to be in there for a long time. So that's 4 quite skinny parsnips, because again, our neighbours were giving them away, homegrown organic parsnips. So they're in there. Then I've got, so what I'm going to do, right, is the breast of lamb, I'm going to kind of tuck it in the bottom underneath the vegetables. Okay, because remember that's got all that lovely fat in there, so that is going to, you don't need to add any fat to this dish, it's all in the lamb breast already. And I've sort of just put the vegetables on top, okay? Just going to disappear and wash my hands. Okay, and I'm keeping this really simple. So the next thing I'm going to put up there is I just chopped up 4 carrots. Again, just roughly chopped and peeled. Then you could, as your sort of stock or, to add a little bit more flavour, either use a lovely vegetable stock. This is the vegetable marigold bouillon, which I recommend. So you could use that. We've got some stock which is sitting in our fridge. That is like, I'm putting that in. It's some sort of meat stock, to be honest. It might be chicken, but it's not really the end of the world. And we've got some more here, which again is like a lovely jelly. That's how good stock should be. So that's going in. Okay, just because I happen to have that sitting around, but a vegetable stock would do just as well. Just dissolve it in some boiling water in a jug like that. Or if you so fancied, what I sometimes do with my stews is I might put in, so I was doing beef, I might put in a can of Guinness. If you're happy using something like that in your cooking. And the other thing I'm going to do today with lamb is I'm going to put some red wine in. Now, red wine obviously contains sugar. All of you on here will be, sort of eating in a slightly different way. Some of you will be being stricter about the amount of sugar you have in your diets. Others a little bit, you can be a bit more easygoing about it. So you'll know where you're at. But I am going to just use a little bit of red wine, literally sort of a couple of sloshes. It's my good measurements. Doesn't matter how much. I'm going to add some salt and pepper, and also, it's lamb. Rosemary goes really, really well with lamb. The other thing about a slow cooker sort of stew is if you fancied spicing it up, you could put some nice curry spices in there. You could put some turmeric in there. You could put, oh my goodness, you could put some chilli in there. Really, the world's your oyster. You can do whatever you want. And that's the joy. The other thing I'd say about slow cooking is there's this thing that you have to brown the meat before it goes in, okay? Years ago, I did a bit of research, I did a bit of looking into this to see if it was something that was really, really necessary, because in all the cookery books, they make it sound like it is really necessary. I don't notice the difference. Personally, from what I know about what happens to meats when you cook them at very high temperature, you make carcinogenic compounds. That's cancer-causing, carcinogenic. And so I don't brown my meat. I do eat browned meat sometimes, just because I really, really like it sometimes. So I don't think you can beat a steak that is cooked rare in a very, very hot pan, so it gets browned on the outside. But my kind of thinking is every now and again, probably if you eat well the rest of the time, your body has the ability to kind of deal with those toxins, which effectively you are eating. But minimise it. Do it as little as possible, which means don't always brown your meat before you cook it. You don't need to. So everything goes in your slow cooker raw. So that's that, really. I think that's it. So that stuff's in there. That's it, all done. It's going to go in the oven at 150 degrees. I'm just going to add a bit of red wine and a little bit of salt, and leave it for the whole day. And the other thing I was going to say is so the other joyful thing about this is you can look in your fridge and go, what needs using up? I've got some cauliflower that needs using up. Okay, so with the slow cooker, and the reason quite often you'll use root vegetables is they can take the long cooking without disappearing into a horrible mush. I would not use, you see my dog going up the stairs, I would not put in above ground vegetables into slow cooking until right at the very end, because obviously they'll disintegrate into a nasty mush. So I'm going to put some cauliflower in here right at the very end, just because it's an easy way to cook it. I could cook it separately, but if I put it in here, it'll sort of absorb all the lovely flavours. But I won't put it in until kind of about 20 minutes before the end. Yeah, so there we go. I hope that helps. And let me know if you have any brilliant sort of recipes that you use for making lovely stews, casseroles, anything that you slow cook. Bye guys, see you soon.